Hello, dear Professor Dr. Steve Cho. I'm really excited to have today interview with you about AI, robots, and autonomous systems. Thank you so much for uh, coming to this interview, and I'm really excited to have interview with you today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, so this interview is going to be about 30 minutes, and I will be asking questions about AI, efficiency, and robotics projects. First of all, I would like to say that Dr. Steve Cho is Associate Professor at Arizona State University and also received a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. When it comes to the first question, I would like to ask you what projects you have worked on about technologies or maybe autonomous technologies.
I've worked on a whole range of different technologies, all the way from materials to devices to capital equipment. My first job was actually working in the semiconductor industry on materials. We worked on spin-on glass, and then later on I got into device testing. My master's thesis was actually on device physics, and then my doctorate degree was in MEMS devices, microsensors. Basically, we were working on trying to make smart systems. We were IoT before there was ever an IoT.
Oh, yeah.
And then from there, I worked on the microgyroscope. Then I went to work on flat panel displays. Then I worked on capital equipment. Those applications were actually for the energy business. And then I worked also on portable power cells, and then I came into teaching.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you have very good experience, and I'm really excited to be in your class, of course.
Excuse me.
No, that's okay. And very important question, what do you think in general? Is technology making people lazy?
There's two kinds of laziness. There's mental laziness, and then there's
Yeah.
physical laziness. And there's concrete proof after the Industrial Revolution that people started getting heavier. And so they said it was because they were getting lazy, or was it because now they could produce enough food? Just anecdotally, I would say technology does make people lazy, and lazy in the sense that it's the intent of what people want to use technology for. If they want to use it as a tool to enhance how they work, then that's not laziness. But what ends up happening is people try to use technology as a substitute. For example, there's this old movie where a computer's taken over everything and people have stopped thinking and working. And then the monster computer breaks down and everybody dies because everybody's forgotten how to open a door.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in my own classes. I take calculators away and all of a sudden students can't multiply anymore.
Thank you so much. When it comes to the next question, I'd like to ask you what kind of technologies based on autonomous systems are right now in the education system available?
Right now, we have the same tools that a lot of other people have been using. The thing is, the tools we use, it's like teachers have to communicate. So we have, we use Zoom, we use, there's all kinds of graphic things. There's Slack, Yellow Dig, basically to get students to talk to each other. We have technologies in terms of, we could use ChatGPT to help us do lectures or to do research just like anybody else. In terms of other ed tech, there's a lot of diagnostic tools to look at data and things like that, and basically point us in the direction of what we should be doing with students.
Thank you so much. When it comes to ChatGPT, what are some of the proper ways of using it?
What it comes down to, and this is where ChatGPT is like any tool. The biggest problem with ChatGPT right now is students don't, and I shouldn't say all students, but a lot of students don't use it properly. And the reason why is because they don't have because when you use a tool, like if I'm digging a hole or a trench, I understand where I should be digging and how it should be dug and everything else. On the other hand, if I'm not using something as a tool and I just want to take place and there's no intelligence in it, then the next thing you know, you're just hitting rocks or something like that. And the thing about students is, unless, and this is why I resist it a lot in my classes, is because if they don't understand how to use it, then they can't tell if the output that ChatGPT is giving them is good or is it bad.
Oh,
And that's the big problem. The people who do use it as a good tool, it saves them a lot of time, like doing research or finding references and all. On the other hand, the people who don't understand it will just take ChatGPT at its word, and then they find out like the references are made up or something like that.
oh, yeah. Thank you so much. So the next question I would like to ask you is about jobs. What are your views about the jobs that were taken and that might have been taken in the future?
In terms of employment, and this actually goes beyond just AI, it's robotics and everything else
Oh, yeah.
that are created to substitute for human capability. And the jobs that are in danger is if there's large levels of repetitious work. So for example, in the finance industry, there's a lot of repetition. Hospitality, like hotels or whatever, there's repetition. The jobs that tend to be safe are the ones that require creativity, like R&D, analysis, intelligence gathering. Those types of jobs are the ones that tend to be safe. And that's why education is so important, because education allows you to do that higher end work. But just like admin work or something like that, bots have like wiped out entire customer service segments. So if you're customer facing, that's one big risk. The thing about bots is, and this is where technology may not necessarily be the most healthy thing, nobody likes using a bot. Everybody wants to talk to a human. And yet, but from the company's point of view, you save so much money. They're less concerned about making a good product and more about making money.
Thank you. And you have mentioned creativity. So my next question is also about this. Like, what are ways that technologies, robots, artificial intelligence affect human creativity?
What human creativity is, and it's actually pretty simple. Every creative thing that's ever been created in the history of man is somebody took one thing and took another thing and figured and connected it, and nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Henry Ford, for example, saw a slaughterhouse. I mean, here's a man who already failed 4 times at making a car company. And then he saw a slaughterhouse and he saw the pigs coming off of the line and he saw the throughput and all, and it occurred to him, I could apply that to cars. Steve Jobs, what turned around Apple was the iPod. What did he see? He saw one of his favorite inventions was the Sony Walkman. And so he thought, it was genius. And then what did he think for Walkman? Oh, the future is going to be digital content. Walkman, iPod. No, iPod. Cell phone, iPhone. And what robotics and AI and everything else does is essentially, in terms of coming up with ideas of trying to figure out how to connect 2 things. There are basically 2 barriers for you to come up with new ideas and to see the connection of things. One is there's the organic barrier, and that's that there's some things you just don't get. I mean, there's some things you just look at. You look at 100 times, you just
Yeah.
don't get it. Your biases created by mommy and daddy. Those kind of things you can't fix because we're talking about things that are organically ingrained into your processor. And now we're talking about years being on a couch. On the other hand, most people, the biggest problem with creativity is just knowledge, that they get exposed to new things. All of a sudden, like how many times do you see something new and go, I never thought about it that way. And then from that one idea, a whole bunch of ideas explode. And so more exposure when you see robots or when you see AI algorithms and things like that, all of a sudden that starts to germinate your creativity.
Thank you so much. What do you think? What are some of the autonomous robots that are really helpful and needed in life?
When you have weaknesses in human performance, then robots can do extraordinary things. For example, all technology fundamentally is about making a better me.
Oh,
So if I need to think about something and my one little brain can't do it, but if there were 1,000 of my brains, and that's what computing basically is. An example of where autonomous systems are really helpful is right now is actually farm tech.
oh,
I actually had a student whose family grew up in farming, and he was worried because he didn't want to be a farmer and he was leaving home. And then what is his dad going to do? Well, he finally talked his father into buying a robot. And he said, oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. And the reason why is a robot always shows up for work.
oh, yeah.
A robot doesn't get tired. A robot can work in the dark. All of a sudden, his productivity just shot up. And that's the thing people confuse about technology. Everybody keeps talking jobs, jobs, jobs. Well, here's the thing. You want to create jobs? Get rid of that backhoe and hand shovels to 20 people. That's jobs. No, we want productivity. And so, again, this is where technology works its best, and that's when people understand how to use it as a tool.
Thank you so much. So the next question I would like to ask you is about the balance of having efficiency and maintaining purpose in life while using technologies. What are your views on that?
Okay, what efficiency has to do with is how much progress you make and how much is it going to cost me for that progress. And so what we want is lots of progress for very little cost. At the same time, that can create human tolls because now people all of a sudden, and through no fault of their own, get obsolesced. And this is what I think society has to change, or at least American society or capitalist societies. And that's that the viewpoint is, well, that's just too bad. You should have seen it coming. But maybe what we do need to do is start preparing people for changes. For example, the coal miners. There was once a program where the coal miners actually got financial assistance to go back to school and to retrain themselves. And then what happened is it got dropped. And so now what happens to the coal miners? I think in that sense that we have to look at every human as a resource for growth and progress. And so therefore we have a responsibility to create a culture of lifelong learning where they can always be able to keep up with what changes do happen in these technologies.
Thank you. So my next question is, what are some of the technologies, robots, or AI systems that were not made but are really needed for society currently?
Oh, Carly, what it comes down to is the wicked problems we have right now. whether it's global warming or something like that. The question becomes, can we start applying those technologies to these problems? Of course, there are the problems to where the use of humans creates waste, and robots and technology may not. These are the type of things which will be most helpful for society.
Thank you so much. Well, now I would like to ask you, what are some of the policies of using AI, like in general?
The big fight in AI right now in terms of legal is copyright. Who owns what's being created? And I actually think they've gotten it right so far. And that's that the definition of a copyright is a creative work that exists in a medium, but you have to produce it. And so there's two levels of copyright we're talking about. One is content, which means the actual code of the actual AI. And then there's what does the AI produce? And so the way AI basically works is, and why we've never been able to do this before. Actually, AI is not original. AI has been around for over 100 years. AI was used in World War II. Now, granted, it was a lot more primitive than we have today. But what enabled AI is basically computing. And it's the same thing for a lot of things. For example, the original cell phones died after 2 to 3 hours. So did batteries all of a sudden become incredibly better? No, what happened is that the chips became more efficient in terms of power and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm kind of digressing. But the legal issues right now about AI have to do with who owns it. And what it comes down to right now is, a lawyer said this, I think he hit it on the head. He said, something free is not free from its rights. So it's like when you use open source coding, you still have to have attribution to who used it or follow the conditions for you to use it. So that's the content end. The production end is, you can't claim it's an original piece of work if all you've done is collect pieces. All AI does is take the knowledge base that exists and grabs those pieces to put together an answer for you. So none of those pieces are actually you. There's also the issue, the big issue in AI right now also is liability. And that's that if the technology goes wrong, who's to blame? And it's like the poor guy in like the self-driving car believed in his Tesla, he listened to all the publicity of Elon Musk that this thing drives himself, that he broke all the rules that he was supposed to follow, hopped in his back seat to take a nap, and then the car ran into a police car. And he said, it's not my fault. They said it was self-driving. So I thought it was self-driving, I could take a nap. Well, as it turns out, he was found at fault. And so this is pretty much true of all technology. And that's that when you depend on it, who's responsible if something goes wrong? And basically the onus is on the user, unless you can prove the technology did something it wasn't supposed to do. And this is where those little words on those pieces of paper start to become really important, because it tells you what it will do and what it won't do. The problem is that we're seeing a blurring of traditional human responsibility and communication and everything else with the machine. And so it's like, well, how much of this is machine's responsibility and how much of it is mine? And that's going to become challenging, coming up with that line.
Thank you so much. I'll just make sure to put it like this now. Okay. Now, you have talked about self-driving cars. What do you think the future of these cars? Are all taxi services will be self-driving?
Here's the thing about like the self-driving car, for example. What people have to, when they think about AI and things like that, there's the AI and then there's the intended purpose of what that technology is used for. And AI is a subset of other things that have to go in to make a self-driving car, like sensing and things like that. And personally, I don't believe that there'll ever be a generalized driverless car for the simple reason there's too many corner cases, there's too many special cases that it can't account for. Not only that, it's optical sensing. You're always going to have bad weather where you can't see anything. You can have roads that don't have lines or references for the AI to work off of. And that's not the AI's fault, but the technology isn't perfect. As far as the driverless car goes, now you're starting to talk about human confidence. Myself, and actually there are a lot of people like me, I won't get into a car that doesn't have a driver for the simple reason if something goes wrong,
Yeah.
who's going to help me? Like all the doors lock, and it's like how many times a day does even your cell phone glitch, like something slow or something like that? And so the level of reliability just isn't there for me to have a level of confidence because there's no way I can repair out of that situation. And so right now, though, there are people, who love technology and who get into a driverless car. But then it extends to other forms of transportation. Would you get on an airplane with no human on it? Should we have air traffic controllers? It's just an algorithm, right?
Yeah.
A lot of lives are the thing about being in an airplane. If something goes wrong, in a car, there's to a certain degree you can recover. In airplane, something goes wrong.
No,
yeah. there is no chance to recover.
Yes. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to know about projects, as you have experience in technological entrepreneurship. Um, right now, there are so many AI projects and robots that are being made, and some of them are being made using the sources of AI. What do you think about like launching this project issues, as there are a lot of them, how it is possible to be successful?
Here's a really funny thing in entrepreneurship about AI. At first, there was this huge gold rush. Tons of money got poured in. And then all of a sudden, what always happens with investors is you reach a saturation point and then it goes down.
Yeah.
And then ChatGPT came out, and all of a sudden, the viewpoint of AI got all hot again, and now it's shooting up again. It's a gold rush industry. And what happens in gold rush industries, like, for example, in the United States, there were once 200 car companies. And what ends up happening is not everybody gets it. A lot of companies are Me Too. Business factors start to come in. For example, there were a lot of rideshare companies. Why did Uber win? And it's because Travis Kalanick, for all his faults as a CEO, understood one thing. This is a business about customer acquisition, and customer acquisition costs money. He raised more money than anybody else, and that's why Uber shot to the top. In terms of AI, what's going to happen is it's like the dot-com boom. Everybody and his cousin thought, oh, this is a web business. But then some businesses will be profitable enough. The thing is, to have a successful company, you need to have three things. This is what I teach my entrepreneurs. A simple way to look at if this is a real opportunity. Number one, what can I do is unique? I mean, what's special about me? What differentiates me? Second thing is, can I make a sustainable profit and a good return for my investors? You have to make money. And then the third aspect is, am I difficult to copy? Because if I can't block out the competition or lock in my customers, then the moment you go out there, somebody else is going to jump in with you. And this is why typically the first movers don't win. It's the person who follows behind.
Thank you. Right now, I would like to know about the education in autonomous systems, technologies. When you were studying electrical and engineering at MIT, how was the education? Are there were any like things about AI during that time?
There has, I was at MIT a very long time ago. Things have changed, but AI has always been around. And what you're doing is you're saying, can machines make decisions for me? A good example was actually my roommate. My roommate, his name is Brett Hildebrand. Brett Hildebrand was a genius. Brett Hildebrand, in 4 years, got 3 degrees from MIT.
Oh,
He got a bachelor's in computer science, a bachelor's in economics, and a master's in math. And what his math thesis was, is he wrote the first AI poker playing algorithm. And what he did is since he knows economics, he knows game theory. And so based on the game theory, math, and everything else, he wrote, and he was a computer science major, so he could write his own code. And so he looked at what you should be learning every time a hand of poker goes round and round. And so his algorithm actually worked. But the thing about AI is we always think of AI as being big things like robots and human robots replacing us and things like that. The reality is AI is everywhere around us on very simple levels, and that's machine learning. And the thing about machine learning is rules can be very simple. For example, your thermostat is a piece of AI. You tell it, I want it to be 75 degrees. Well, you have rules that tell you, well, when it gets up to 78, turn the air conditioner on, it goes down to 70. Okay, that's low enough. We'll let it warm up again, and then keep going back and forth. And so it could be as simple as that. And it could be actually very complex. But a lot of the ideas you see in factories and everything like that have origins in like the 1970s and the 1980s.
thank you so much. Now I will ask some of the last questions. What are some of the projects AI that are done and are very good? It may be robots in sustainability and medicine.
Ooh. Medicine. Well, naturally, the defense industry tends to be a big leader. Like for example, stealth fighters. Stealth fighters are inherently not the way you want to make a flying vehicle. But the thing is, the control algorithms in that, which is basically AI, keeps the thing stable. A human would have a very hard time flying that aircraft. So it's mostly guided by computers. A lot of vehicles and vehicles, munition systems. Actually, I worked on smart howitzers and mortars, and they actually put my gyroscope into a shell. And by being able to see the trajectory and the spin and everything else, they could come up with more accurate algorithms. That's what came out of it. In medicine, basically instrumentation has gotten a lot better, and it's because of AI systems. The thing is, there's still a lot of work on human interaction. For example, just because what people do is they think about, oh, this is a danger, and so they start building in a lot of alarms with more sensors and everything else. And then the problem is it starts driving all the workers crazy because the thing is alarming left and right. Oh no, it's this error, this error. And so it's not distinguishing, well, look, is this a life or death thing, or is this just an annoyance thing? And so in that sense, human interaction, and this is like here at Arizona State, we have a big human systems effort, and that's to understand how machines and us interact and how we can interact best of all. The best AI I've seen is probably in factories, and that's that they really compensate really because, like for example, I developed processes my entire career, and I've taken organizations that have 1% yield and got it up to 90, 95%. Have a reputation as a turnaround artist. And then he always asked me, well, why can't you get over 99? And I said, human error. He said, if I can make a process where people only make one error in 20, I'm doing really well. And I said, where am I going to get the last few percentage points? I said, automation. And automation has algorithms. Also, algorithms for detection is a form of AI. And most of your safety and everything else, some of the amazing medical equipment out there right now, like that monitor your vital signs and stuff like that. That has worked really well, and I've actually known some of the people who've developed that work.
Thank you so much. Let me check the AI. How does it works? Yeah. Yeah, that's some of the ways that AI works. This is the end of the interview. Thank you so much, Dr. Cho. I really appreciate your time, and I really like your work in technology entrepreneurship management. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, and it's been fun.
Yeah.